Now, the other one out there is something called the percent of receivables method. So we're going to calculate our bad debt expense based on a percent of accounts receivable. So what we've got out here is our ending balance of AR times a percent to get our target balance. And so we're going to determine the bad debt expense based on my target balance minus my unadjusted credit balance of the allowance for bad debts. And we'll come up with bad debt expense. So let's see how this works. So using the percent of receivables method, on December 31st, Smart Touch had a receivable balance of $63.75, and 4% of the accounts receivable is estimated to be uncollectible. The allowance for bad debt accounts has a credit balance of $55, so my adjustment is $200. So let's see how that works. On step one, we want to calculate the target balance of my allowance. Now that should be 4% times $63.75. Now my correct balance in the AR should be, or the allowance for bad debt, should be $255. Now right now it stands at $55. So what we need to do is increase the allowance for bad debts to $200. So we're going to make a debit to bad debt expense and credit the allowance for bad debt by $200. Just like we did here. So we've got the debit to bad debt expense and a credit to the allowance for bad debt for $200. So again, after posting, you can see what's happening here. Now, on the percent of receivables method, sometimes you may have a debit balance in your allowance for doubtful accounts. And in this case, Martin's Music has a debit balance of $150. Now, it says that the uncollectible accounts will be 2% of $40,000 of accounts receivable, so we should have a credit balance of $800 at the end of the period. Since we have a debit balance of $150 and we need a credit balance of $800, we're going to have to add the $150 to the $800 to get it to a credit balance. So we're going to have to make an adjustment out there. So we're going to debit bad debt expense for $950 and credit the allowance for bad debts $950 also. So number 13, a newly created design business, Terry's Art, is finishing its first year of operations. Credit sales were 43, collection of credit sales were 34. One account of $675 was written off. Terry uses the aging of accounts receivable method to record bad debt expense. It estimates that $200 is uncollectible at year end. What is the amount of bad debt expense for the first year of operations? Let's go to the answer on this one. Now, bad debt expense for this year, we've got it estimated at $200 of uncollectible, plus you've written off $675. So in this case here, the amount of bad debt expense is going to be $875. This one's D.